so much, everybody, for joining us. I feel like, this is kind of a unique situation because we're all like GPers out there, or GPs, I don't know what you call them. And then we've got a few of our clients who have actually made the move from GP over to Acumatica. So we knew that once Microsoft came out with that announcement that GP is sunsetting, that our customer base that's using GP, they'd want to know what we're involved in and what we think they should do. And we thought the better opportunity is not for us to tell you what we think you should do as a client, but what other clients of ours have done. And so instead of these wonderful people that have volunteered to get on the phone today and share their stories with you, instead of that happening one at a time with each of our GP customers, we thought it would be a great opportunity for you guys just to have it here. We'll record it. We'll get you some answers to questions if we don't go over them, and everything else. So let's get going so that we have time for it. I'm going to go ahead over here. All right, so we've got 3 different companies with 4 different panel members, and we're going to go through and have them introduce themselves in a moment. But just so you know that their organizations do very different things within the system, and we purposely brought in customers that are using the system in a different way, that they onboarded in different ways, and that they've had experience with obviously Collins Computing for many years, some more than others, but we'll get you introduced to them. And then if you don't already know, I'm Aubrey Gilman. I'm our customer success manager over at Collins Computing. I get involved in just everything that has to do with our customer base. We've also got Randy Forkner on the phone today, our president of Collins Computing. And I'll let him say hello if he would like.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. I don't want to delay anything. So Randy Forkner, President Collins, I know a lot of you, if not everybody on the phone at some point or some year in time. But we appreciate you joining this. Arbor has done a lot of work to get us to this point. And you all know my email, hopefully. If you don't, get it from Arbor, and I'm always willing to talk to anybody. But thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so as I mentioned, all of our panelists today, or our panel members, had Microsoft Dynamics GP implemented in their organization for years, and they made the move up to Acumatica in a cloud ERP SaaS type solution. And so let's chat about it. We've got lots of questions, and then after we go through the questions, I will follow up with you to see if you actually need to see the product, because we're really just talking about it today. Randy mentioned that he is available to talk to you, and that's exactly who you'd go to next, is Randy and Steve, our president. And then I did want to mention that there is the Acumatica Summit, which is very similar to Convergence on the GP side of things. But every year, it is at the same time of year, at the same place, Wynn, Las Vegas, the last weekend in January, so that if you wanted to see the product, you wanted to meet some people in the channel, you'd have the opportunity to do that. So we'll come back to that later, but I did want to let you know that we were going to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to let our panelists get involved here. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, a little bit about who they are, what they do for the company, what their company does, and then whether they were involved in the decision-making process or not with moving off of GP and onto Acumatica. And then we'll get into details, but just really quickly, we'll start with just them and their introductions. So we're going to start with Mark. So we have little MWCMB. So we're going to let Mark introduce himself first.
I'm Mark Lurie. I'm the CFO for MSIA. MSIA is, we're an international spiritual organization. So we serve about 4,000 active students, and then a lot of folks who take our classes and our offerings. We have a lot of streaming content, etc. We're an interesting nonprofit. There'll be some overlap with what we do in YWCA, but in terms of how we've used Great Plains, it's pretty complex because we have a college, a separate college that has classes and collects tuition. The MSI itself has not only receives donations, but also we sell books and then we also monitor. I was going to say monitor, but we essentially have turned Great Plains into a CRM for tracking our students and our ministry and all that. So we're pretty complex organization in terms of all the different things we do. And so a few years back, and we've been with Colin since 1992. I was looking at some notes that was reaching out to Bill Beebe about Y2K compliance. So we've been with Colin for a really long time. But a few years ago, we realized Great Plains we wanted to do more. We weren't really happy with some of the things, the capabilities. And so I knew I would be reaching out to Collins to see if they had a recommendation. And it turned out that they had already themselves moved to Acumatica. And we looked at a couple other, well, I'm sorry, is that?
You are getting ahead a little bit, but that's okay because we want to have that. Yeah, so just maybe were you involved in that decision a little bit?
Yes, I'm sorry. I
No, you're good.
Sometimes. So let me just say this. I was absolutely involved in the decision making, and I'm really glad that Wendy's here because she's been more hands-on. The bottom line I'll say is that we went to the Acumatica Summit, or I went to the Acumatica Summits, which was really helpful pre-purchase because I got to see the company and what they do and what the other vendors were. And then when we were comfortable enough to pull the trigger on the decision, we're kind of lucky that we're still rolling out Acumatica. We have a smaller organization that we put on it first, and that's what we've been doing for the last year. We still have yet to move the bulk of our organizations into Acumatica. So I'm going to stop there and let Wendy say something.
Hi. I'm Wendy Vahanian, and I am one of the accountants for MSIA. But also probably the main GP user that knows all the ins and outs because I helped do some upgrades and really went into each department and figured out how it worked so that I could then test it and make sure it was all working before we did upgrades. So I am a user, but I also function in an admin sort of way. We do have our IT team, but I know way more about Great Plains than they do just because I use it and I know how to help the other folks use it. So in terms of Acumatica decision making, I also sat in on a few of the different demos that we had for things and would definitely gave my point of view. And Acumatica seemed very user friendly to me when first being approached with it.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to go over to Christina.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Christina Gabriel. I'm the controller for Outdoor Dimensions. Technically we're a sign manufacturing company, but we do signs, banners, flags, and install them. We also do interior spaces for commercial companies. I was part of the decision-making team. There was a couple others in on it. And I continue to kind of be an admin role. So we moved over from GP about 4 years ago now.
Wow, awesome. Okay, Beverly.
Hi, my name is Beverly Williams Anderson, big mouthful, and I'm the IT manager for YWCA of Greater Los Angeles. We are a nonprofit organization. We are international. We are celebrating our 150th year as being an organization. We started out in New York with just some simple buildings that we provide shelter for women, and now we're co-ed now. We provide shelter and resources for men and women, basically the family unit. Now, as far as Acumatica, yes, I do. I was part of the team that decided, and I tell you, we went to Acumatica and we're happy we went to Acumatica just because of necessity sake. We were part of a bigger organization, whether you know it or not. We ran the fourth largest Job Corps center in the United States at the time that we had GP, but then we had to go down in our, slim down with our operation. And um, we went to Collins, we went to Randy, we went to Steve, and and Randy and Steve said, "Well, I think we got something that will really, really, really help you." We went from 7 companies to 2, and so
Nice.
since
All
then
right.
it's been great. It simplifies, it's really user friendly. It uses the apps that we use in 365. So that's where we are now. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. So let's kind of hop back and get the questions going. So the first question is, why did you move off of GP, or why did you move off of it when you did? So Christina, how about let's start with you?
Sure. So we had been on GP, I think, at least since the early 90s. I wasn't here, so I can't answer that, but I'm pretty sure it was the early 90s. So we had been using it basically as a very pretty typewriter because the manufacturing module in Dynamics, if anybody has had to use it, it's very complicated, it's very convoluted, and it takes forever just to get one thing done in it. So the decision was made years ago to just kind of scrap that idea. We started looking because we wanted to be able to use more online apps and make it more user friendly for our installers to be able to not have to carry around big giant packs of paper, to see if there was a way to go forward with Dynamics. We also at that time found out, or thought we found out, that Dynamics was going away. It was going to be sunsetted like in the next 2 years. So it's like, okay, well, now we need to look for something new. So we reached out to Randy and Steve and said, hey, do you have any ideas of something new, different, whatever, that could fill the role that we needed? And they recommended Acumatica. And the rest, they say, is history.
Thanks. Mark, how about for you?
Similar to Christina in the sense that we were realizing that Dynamics wasn't giving us really what we wanted in terms of being able to interface with other apps that we were using. And we didn't feel like Dynamics had the future once we kind of looked into things. And we initially started looking at like Oracle solution and all that, which I found kludgy. And then I knew I would reach out to Collins at some point. And as soon as I did, and they said Acumatica, I went, oh, wow, this is really intriguing. And I loved that it was built natively in the cloud. And I got the impression if Dynamics had done what Acumatica did, that Collins would have probably been with Dynamics, but Acumatica's just was a better alternative.
Mm-hmm. And then Beverly, I know you mentioned you reached out to Steve and Randy, but
Yes,
why
we
when you
had
did?
other issues. Being that Job Corps is a procurement inventory situation that involved 400, maybe 500 students, and then their centers are really, really large, and they basically went with that with their finance. So we had requisition management, and where we were to be doing requisitions, POs, and things like that. So it was like a instead of turnover of training, like 25 to 30 people, to do that. And then we found out that's going away. And we would have to go to another version in order to keep up with that. It wasn't sure, and everything. So it it was a lot of things that went into play that we couldn't sustain. Being on the tier 2 and then moving on up with Great Plains. So, and, with their report writer and everything, the disaster report writer.
Management reporter.
I became,
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
Yeah, at the particular time I became a user. I am a system administrator. So I became the user, an admin, and plus the system administrator. So I was like wearing all these hats. So yes, I'm like I said, Acumatica, history. Here we are here, and I'm a much better person for it. So
No worries. No worries. And so that kind of feeds into, to continue on with you, Beverly, that, why did you select Acumatica versus something else?
well, because of it's really user friendly. And we were at a state where, like I said, with purchasing and purchase requests, requisitions, we found that this is a much easier concept that to whereas we could train our staff and our staff could train other staff as it came in into our locations. We have 7 locations. So throughout Greater LA, this is YWCA of Greater LA, we have 7 locations. And so therefore, the training became much, much easier. And so when Brandy presented it and we present how just user friendly, you click here, you click this, you didn't have to do the analytics, you didn't have to do the report writers, you didn't have to go with the smart list and all that. Then, it became, we were like, yeah, this is something that really that we can do and our staff could be more productive with it. We wasn't getting that with Great Plains, and we were with Great Plains since 2001. And I actually, my horror is I can tell you it was May 2nd, 2001. It's in my brain. It's in my brain. And that's when we started with Great Plains.
No worries. Okay, Christina, what were some of the things that went into why you picked Acumatica?
So a lot of it was, we wanted it to be, we always make this joke, we use Acumatica and it made us a real company, and by saying that, I mean, so GP, we were using it like a typewriter. It was literally, okay, what information do we have to input into GP just so that we can get financial statements? With Acumatica, we're able to kind of almost forecast what materials we're needing. All the way down to tracking, this customer, they're trending, doing late payments, whatever. Let's reach out to them, get them, caught up to date kind of thing. So it's much more robust. The other thing too is we, at the time when we were with GP, we couldn't have an estimating module. So we are manufacturing, but we're primarily a lot of custom jobs. So everything is a different color, a different size, a different font. They want this picture, whatever. So in GP, we had to have a completely separate estimating module that we then had to print out, and it attaches to another piece of paper just so that we know what materials are going to be needed on a job. With Acumatica, it's all in-house. It's a module inside. It's easily, it adapts. You can change it as you need it. You can set up templates. So it's so much easier to use. And everything can be reportable on a report or an inquiry, and you don't have to deal with smart lists. I agree totally with you there, Beverly, that just a nightmare.
Right. So Wendy, you were talking about when we were discussing this a little bit, the worries that you had for leaving GP or leaving the company that knew how you did business.
Well, my worry, as Mark described, because we have so many different facets of what we do in terms of we're a religious organization a spiritual organization. So we have, as he said, donations, and then we also sell courses of study and different trainings and audio things and some religious items. So we have sales, and we had to have items and be able to do SOP. And then we also track our ministers, and are they up to date and different things. And so our database, like we had to do so many things. And I'm like, how are we going to find someplace who's going to put all of these pieces back together again? Because Collins has customized Great Plains for us so heavily. So when Mark came and said, I think, Collins uses Acumatica, and I think we ought to look at Acumatica. So I'm going to go take a look. I'm going to the thing in Vegas, and it's like, okay, great. And when he came back and said they will be able to do what they did for us in Great Plains, only better, because we are going to be able to have importability, and use different apps and things that Great Plains couldn't use. So it was, it was really, really good news.
Yeah.
For me, it's super important. It's wonderful to have a program, but if I don't have somebody who's going to be able to help us put it together the way that I need it to be and knows how to make it be the way that we have had it in the past as much as possible, or show us a new way to do it that's even better, that was
Invaluable. Yeah.
yes, definitely.
And Mark, Wendy mentioned some of the things that you wanted to take advantage of, the apps that maybe you aren't available or aren't able to in GP. I didn't know if you wanted to expand on some of those a little bit.
Sure. Well, there's God, I forget the name of the company that does sales tax processing, but so that was one of
Avalara.
Avalara. Avalara. I remember when I went to their booth at the first summit and went, oh, this is great. And they had some features and things. But more importantly, the ability when we have Eventbrite transactions to have those go straight into Acumatica or our learning management system, for so it's going to eliminate operator, kind of registration work and all that, which could also help with accuracy and timeliness. So there's just a lot of different hooks and things that we'll be able to do, because with Great Plains, what we've been able to do, which is really great, is we can validate information on our WordPress website that, oh, hey, are you an active minister? Hey, if you are, you can get access to this section. So that's kind of going out, but we can't really bring anything into Great Plains. And the other thing is we have an online store, which is in Woocommerce. And there's several companies that have connectors so that the Woocommerce transactions will be real time into Acumatica. So that's pretty huge for us.
Absolutely. And then Beverly, you were talking about some of the things that you liked about Acumatica. So what's different about Acumatica? Maybe some of the things you were talking about were reporting.
Okay,
you
have to excuse me because right now I'm recovering, as I know. So some things I really can't pronounce. I can't. It comes out very jumbled. But we used Valexa.
Lexo.
And for our and that became a very, very, very important tool for us as far as our budget. When we do, we have state mandated child cares and centers. So we have the reporting that we need to do with that is godsend. Acumatica is a godsend because we can take CDT and put it there and have our budgets customize. The design writer that we have in Acumatica is very easy. You can go in there and you can create your own reports and it comes out.
Yeah, I think that's what Beverly is saying. Velixo is the report writer that is bundled with our Acumatica sales. So they're able to both write back to Acumatica and then read from Acumatica. So that was super important for her quarterly reporting.
We're fortunate to have people that are able to, once you show them how, in Acumatica, that we actually, with our P&L, we were able to customize, ourselves. We can customize our balance sheets and everything. This is very important. And when we were doing Job Corps, because we had to sunset our way out of Job Corps, we did Job Corps for 53 years. So we had to, and that's Department of Labor. So we had to sunset our way out of that. And it was very, very useful that we could departmentalize that portion of the data and put it into Acumatica and be able to get those unneeded reports for DOL. And it came out we were like, wow, and GP, we were messing up every day. We'd come back and it's like, what is that trace? Oh my God, but
you had said
it is much simpler, and like I said, what we found out with Acumatica is we are more productive. our
That's great.
productivity just really went up
That's
with
great.
using Acumatica and with just having several people that really, really knew GP and
Right.
not many.
Right. And we're going to, Mark, you kind of mentioned some of the things about what's different. So I'm going to skip over to Christina. Christina, you were talking to us about what's different with Acumatica with tailoring the screens. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
So GP is you conform to GP. It does not like being changed, messed with in any way or shape or form. If any of you have had to deal with user-defined fields, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We used to have a nightmare every time we tried to upgrade. It was, Albert, you remember those. You remember those days, weekends, nights, weeks, months. So with Acumatica, it's completely the opposite. The system, the software will conform to what you need. So you need to add a field, you need to change something. We just completed something where we added a whole new column in one of our screens because people wanted to track a date and we didn't want to, kind of overwrite, which is what we used to do in GP and say, no, this is not actually this date, it's now this field. So in Acumatica, you can do that. You can just say, hey, I want a whole new field. I want it to do this. I want it to behave like this. I want it to control this. And it's no problem. And it's easy to do or have done for you if you don't have the technical people behind you. So, the differences between the two are kind of night and day. For us, it was also, the ability to store files on a screen. For us, that was kind of revolutionary. So we have very detailed kind of almost architectural design maps and stuff like that go into each project. By being able to put them there, they're on the cloud, they're in that sales order, work order, whatever you want to call it. Our install team, our sales reps, they can pull it up at any point in time if they're having a meeting with our customers and say, here, is this what you want? You want us to tweak this? What do you need from us? And it's right there, it's at their fingertips when they're on site. They don't have to go back and schedule a whole new call. So for us, it's a time saving, it's much more efficient, and everything, the story of a work order is all in one place. So everybody can find it.
That's awesome. And then the last thing that you had mentioned were like workflow.
Yes. So the workflows in GP was, well, we did pretty much everything outside of the system except put in the numbers at the end of the month. So the workflow in Acumatica is we still have a bit of a paper trail, but it's a paper trail that goes back to Acumatica. So it's, they just need that security blanket of that piece of paper. It has no effect or impact on the workflow. We're not waiting for something to be inputted into the system. So it has sped up a lot of our processes.
That's great. And so let's talk a little bit about upgrades. I know that each one of you alluded to them, but Beverly, why don't you talk about, you had mentioned, you said something about blinking.
Yeah, well, with Acumatica, your upgrade, they do it after hours, you blink, it's done. The next day, but before you do that, you do have an opportunity to use the sandbox. So I have found that that's very easy. I give the sandbox to each of my department in finance, your AP, your AR, and everything, and I say, look at this, and is there anything in there that you want added, whatever, and they approve it, and then I said, go ahead, you can do the upgrade, and they said they do it off our office hours. There's no interruption. You blink, it's done. Next morning, that's it.
Right.
With GP, it was what did I say? They came up. It was a visitation. It was let's go in there and get those smart lists together. Let's go in there and do those links. Let's go in there and do that thing. Everything under the guide of me going and flying over there. And seeing, we had a CFO. He went to for GP. He went
Yeah.
there and he went to visit, and when he came back, he was like, well, is there anything else we can do?
Yeah. Right.
He was a little shell shocked there. But
Yeah.
as far as
So yeah.
upgrades are concerned, and I just have to give shout out to look at me. I have to give shout outs to the support staff because they are very, very, things happen, but they're fixed it instantly,
That's
and
awesome.
I have very good relationship with the support staff and anything, and you can get them right away. And with GP, I was like, put in the ticket, and next 3 days, I'm like, what is the ticket? Is it
Right.
done? So those are the main differences that
With the upgrades. Yeah.
and I just wanted to put in with Acumatica, we are now starting out with a new invoicing system, which has turned out to be great. Like I said, we have 7 sites. We have childcare. We have what is called our sexual assault crisis center. We have many invoices that go through that. And what was happening is they were getting lost. You can ask companies to send them to wherever you want them to send it, but it doesn't happen all the time. And we do feed our children, and we have from infant up to toddler. And these programs, and so that's a lot of invoicing. So right now, you scan in an invoice to our AP system, and they put it in, and you get an email and say approve it, and that's it. And it's just wonderful. We're just like so excited about it. It is, and we started this at the beginning of this year, and we kind of perfected it now to the way we want it. So it's really great.
That's fantastic to hear. Obviously, we were excited to help do that. Okay, so Wendy, let's talk about upgrades that you guys have implement, or you've brought on one of your smaller companies first, and how have the upgrades gone?
Excuse me, I'm working on a cold. Because we have only started with a little company, another nonprofit that's affiliated with us, and we brought that on, and we only use it for AP, and it has no AR and GL basically. Just to track the funds and into the banking and things. So we've gone through 2 upgrades, and honestly, they were completely painless. And as Beverly was saying, GP is, and especially as heavily customized as we are in our bigger companies,
Right.
was a total nightmare. I do believe that because of the way things are laid out, so Beverly mentioned a sandbox. So when there's an upgrade, Collins gives you a sandbox to go work in, and to have all of your people who are in charge of different areas go in and test different things. And they give you pieces of papers you can fill out and check off, yes, this works.
Our
yes,
little checklist, Excel's, Excel spreadsheets.
Thank you. You don't have to nobody has to use paper unless they want to.
Roll that.
But, excuse me. So that part makes it really, really easy. And so far it's been awesome. We do have a ton of customizations, and those things will all have to be looked at each time we upgrade. And Acumatica does do an upgrade every year. So it's important to go into this knowing that you will do this every year, but they make it as painless as possible. And
Right. And while you're talking, Wendy, you were talking about going live. And, even with the smaller company, kind of your experience and some of the folks that you were dealing with.
We have, because it's such a small company, we really only have one person who's using Acumatica. So because I knew the most about GP and I'm now familiar with this, I'm kind of like, okay, you train this new person. And she's in her 70s, and she wasn't thrilled about needing to learn something new, but honestly, when I showed it to her and I showed her how it worked, And she kind of got the languaging down, like that we deal with batches and Great Plains and here and posting. And in Acumatica, you release things, like it's just a little bit different terminology. But once you get it, it's pretty simple and it's very logical.
Mm.
And so I was able to work with her, and she's got down her flow of the things that she needs to do. It wasn't rocket science. It wasn't anything that she, couldn't get. So I figure if she can do it, most everybody's gonna be able to do it.
Thanks for that. So how are things different now, Christina? I know you've mentioned some of the things that, have stood out to you, but what else?
So, I mean, going back to, we're a real company now. So everything goes through Acumatica. The only things that don't are certain schedules and things like that are better handled off the app, the software. The reporting is so much easier, so much easier. Belexo is really kind of the report writer you always wish you had with GP.
Yeah.
It pulls whatever you want from the tables and says, okay, how do you want me to show it? And I will show it. It works with pivot tables. It works with everything. It updates the second you open it. There's no confusion, none of the headaches that you had with SmartList and Management Reporter. It's just not there. Using the mobile apps, our installers and our sales team, they're able to pull up sales orders and make notes inside the sales orders or change things or add things, whatever they need to do to make sure that, the customer is getting what they're requesting. And all of that then feeds right back into that reporting. So we're able to see almost kind of real time what's going on with the work order, what our financials look like. As a controller, that's my kind of big pet peeve. In addition, we're able to really kind of easily customize the system. We have a ton of different colors of paints and inks and things like that we use to manufacture these signs. And instead of in GP, well, if we had used GP how we were supposed to be using GP, changing each color to match the exact amounts and stuff like that, we're able to create something called a phantom code. And that code is just, hey, here's ink, here's the kind of rough average of cost that it does for us to use ink or paint or whatever. And it's such a time save for our estimating team. It's such a time save for our production team to not have to go in there and adjust, oh, well, I only use 0.0001 quarts of this red ink versus just saying I use 0.01 of this quart ink. So that's kind of what's different, and we're still learning quite a bit, even after 4 years. Every new release, I'm always like, Abra, I have no idea what this does. You're going to have to send me like a report of what's new and improved.
Yeah, and fantastically, like they do provide that, which is great. And there's all kinds of, not that I need to get into the salesy part of it, but there are what's new and sessions that you can see what's new in the latest release, which is, fantastic for us.
Yeah.
Beverly, you were going to talk about, what's different now and kind of the resource versus user.
Well, yes, kind of the resource for the user with GP,
License.
and I'm going to talk about being a nonprofit. And we have many pots and that we have to be in compliance with. We are with CDC, and that's for child care grants. We have Department of Labor, which that is for our federal grants. We have many pots that we rely on, and with the difference, one of the main difference is the cost. And Acumatica and GP. GP was a enormous cost per month. It is done by the person. And at the time we were dealing with two organizations, two big organizations with 7 companies with many users. And we had to pay by the user. So we had to expand that, that consistent user on there. So we would have we had to make allowances to make like 25 to 30 users at a time. And that is, I won't even say, I'll say over 9,000 per month. And with Acumatica, no, we pay for it. And we have our maintenance costs, so we don't worry about it. We have our upgrades, and it's really, really came into play that we do have this great tool, and it's not costing us an arm and a leg. The users on it, we have unlimited users, because really there is no cost that we have to worry about with that. We have a third party software, we bought it, it's there, we don't have to worry about that rate to go with it. So with with that was really, really a big
Yeah, and
thing
you
for
even said
us.
one of the things that you were looking forward to adding with the expense reports.
Yes, with the expense reports, we are looking for, yes. We because we have people who go out in the field, of course, and everything. We have expense that our users that recur to them on a monthly basis. And so we were able, as a matter of fact, we're starting that now. And with the app for Acumatica on the phone, they're able to scan up their expense. And so you don't have to worry about, did I do that? And and a receipt, if you have the receipt there, you scan it on your phone, it goes right into Acumatica, into finance. So it's
Right,
good.
without having to add a bunch of
Yeah.
user rates or having to
Yeah.
add,
And
user
yeah, the
licenses.
mobile app is really good. It's really, really good. And that has really got the thing down to the travel expense, and you got to send it in. You got to send in a map or nothing like that. This is real time. So you just
Awesome.
scan it in. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Mark, some of the things that you were talking about wanting to use, I know you mentioned Woocommerce, but there were other things that you were looking forward to.
I think one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is that it's all in the cloud, and we don't have to deal with servers. We don't have to VPN to our Great Plains access. So it's going to reduce some costs and reduce some friction. It's just, and I just, every time I log into Acumatica, it's just such a pleasure, because I just get on it, boom, there's everything I need. There's a lot of tutorial work. I mean, I think the things I'm mostly looking forward to is how we're going to be able to change some of the ways we do things using Acumatica. For example, we have ministerial boards around the world, and they all communicate to home base by email and different things. We're looking at actually setting up the board so that they can log into Acumatica for what they need to do their transactions. We can monitor it from here, but it makes them independent, and again, all real time. And then, yeah, Wendy could probably remember more of the revenue inputs than I can. But yeah, there's our LMS, there's Eventbrite, and then just if anything new shows up, we know that the API hooks to be able to connect to Acumatica are going to be feasible.
Right. And then I think you guys were talking about expense reports too, that you were looking forward to.
It's funny you mentioned that. We just moved to a new payroll platform called Rippling, and we just signed up with their Rippling Spend. So when credit card transactions take place, actually, Wendy, you can explain it better than I can.
Well, we haven't rolled it out yet, but
It's January 1st. But
that with all of our users, all of our employees who have credit cards, that as they spend, then well, this is just Rippling's app. They get a little alert that says you just spent this. Now take a picture of that receipt, and it'll upload it to Rippling. But then all of that information from Rippling is downloadable or whatever. It's imported into Acumatica, so that on a line item basis, wherever those expenses are, we can see it. We can see the receipt. We know who it's from, what it's for. And that's granular information that we have never had access to that quickly or easily. It's always, okay, wait, let me go to Excel. There's a spreadsheet. It's what statement was that on? Let me go pull that statement. Oh yeah, here's the receipt. Yeah, so it's, you
That's
know,
awesome.
a whole new
We
world.
have our ramp. We have our ramp, and it is the same thing. And actually, we are able to do virtual credit cards with our different departments. And then once
Yeah.
they spend and they upload that receipt, it goes right into Acumatica, into that particular department. And, it's just like basically there, yay.
Wow.
Right.
This-
And Christina, I think you even said something about expense reports.
I think there's a theme going on. So, unlike my colleagues, it seems like my panel colleagues, we are actually looking into doing just the pure app for Acumatica itself. So no other third party kind of thing feeding into it. So I've been looking, and I will say the wiki pages as well as the education online community kind of thing has been a tremendous help. They have a bunch of videos where they basically will walk you through it, and they will give you kind of every possible way to get something done and how you get it done and why it's done that way in Acumatica, which is a big change from GP, where you would spend hours looking through their help pages only to find that they don't have what you're looking for. But yeah, the next going forward is really the expense app, as well as, because again, we're a manufacturing company, getting more of the manufacturing module into the mobile app. So that is something I think Acumatica is working on. They haven't quite got there yet. So for us, that's kind of the two big ones where we're like, all right, let's take it a step further. Let's really get and use every bit of this software.
That's awesome. And yeah, so Christina, you started talking about the help online, and that there's, each one of you had mentioned, Mark, I think you talked about going to the different user group. I know we've seen you at the user group meetings locally, plus the conferences. Do you guys want to talk about just the community, whether it's online or in person, that whether you use them or not?
Yeah.
And Mark, you could start. Sorry.
Well, yeah, actually, I must have a doppelganger, because I actually haven't done the user groups locally yet. Mostly because we're not fully up with our whole organization. But it's something that I'm really looking forward to. And I never really wanted to do that with Great Plains, and I'm actually feeling like I want to do it with Acumatica. But going to the conference, especially when we were still checking out, what do we think about this platform, and I'm always concerned, like, well, hey, is this company going to be around in 5 years? And when I went to the conference, it was like I found my people. It just the company's enthusiasm about their product, the enthusiasm of all the users and developers. I mean, it was absolutely exactly what we were looking for. And we had looked at bigger companies like the Oracle product, which I found, just like I said, kind of kludgy, and it was like I loved how smoothly and Acumatica worked, and I kind of related to what Christina said. Like, I think for us, even though I think it's really going to jump us into the real what businesses are really using these days, and I feel like we're a little old-fashioned, but we're gonna move to the next level.
That's awesome. And Beverly, you talked about using the help or the community
Yes,
help.
well, using Acumatica University. I actually have my users go into Acumatica University. It's like AI. It's like an AI. You can get the answers, and there are actually segments where, AP, this is when it'll take you step by step, you know, to go into each module that you're in.
Right.
And my users have found it really, really great. And to get off of that, but Acumatica on YouTube is
Good also.
I have Googled.
it's great. Yeah,
I have
it really
Googled.
is. Yeah, that
You can
is
just a
really
straight
good.
Google search.
Uh-huh.
In Acumatica, how do I do X, Y, and Z? And
Yeah.
it's awesome.
And it pops up, and there you go. You just follow it, and there you go.
Yep. So, with that, I know that there's a lot of people online that if you wanted to just ask some questions or type them in,
Mhm.
or, that our folks are available to answer some questions if we didn't get to them, or if nobody types any, if any of you guys feel like there were some things that you wanted to share that we didn't quite get to. Anybody?
I think this was really comprehensive. I mean, we definitely, I mean, we're using Acumatica, but we're not as in deep as in Beverly and Christina, but we're super excited about where we're headed, and it's yeah. I think we're glad that Acumatica is not a really giant company like a Sage or whatever, because we feel like we still are meaningful and for the space that they support.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark said a few times that going to the conference really meant the world as a prospect of looking at it, because he got to meet not only the Acumatica executives and the support people and the vendors, but other customers, how they're using the system. And, he's right. The excitement is much different than as you go now to any GP. It's, doomsday, the sky is falling. And we got to get off of it. And would you follow us blindly over to this other Dynamics product? And we didn't want to do that. As Mark said, if there was a better solution that was written from the ground up using technology that would take you to the future, that would have been a different story. That's not what Microsoft had done. So with our customers, we really wanted to do the right thing, and for ourselves even to go on a product that, would help us in the future. So
Well,
if
even
there's,
with
go
our
ahead.
two companies now, YWC and Greater Los Angeles, that is our organization that we use, but we also have Urban Campus. We built this building from ground up. And so we needed our Urban Campus company is what takes care of our projects and this building and the maintenance and our grants that help run this building. So we started in 2012, and so then we built the building, and so everything that has to go along with maintaining this building and maintaining our 7 other sites goes to our Urban Campus company. And it's really great because we keep it separate, but also, the GL is there, everything that we need to pull down, we're just on it, in Great Plains, we had to jumble ourselves, go here, who wanted this, who wanted this. It's so compartmentalized, and I just really love that we do this. And as you can see, I'm still at the point that I am a user, I'm the admin, I'm system administrator, but I do have an IT team. And I found that instead of pulling my hair out with GP, I can do other things and
Right.
still, keep on top of Acumatica. Yeah.
That's awesome. And yeah, and as I mentioned, besides all of the new features that they do go through them with you, try to put together those what's new trainings and update their documentation, whether it's online or anything, right away. And I just saw
Brian?
that there was somebody what experience have you had in integrating large data from outside sources? And I think that's what Mark was saying he's so excited about, right? That we've got so many clients that use the import tools, that you can run import scenarios automatically. It's not in the GP world, we had to run integration manager. Maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't. These things are automatically scheduled with import scenarios and
Mhm.
all kinds of business alerts that would tell us if there's something wrong with the integration.
Yeah, real quick, Abra. Brian, to answer your question, Acumatica is designed as an open platform. So every single screen/table in Acumatica has a web API for integration purposes.
Mhm.
And if you understand the web API technology, I think you'll understand getting data in and out is native to the way that Acumatica was built.
I
Absolutely.
can give a kind of real world example. We don't
Great.
use Avalara for our sales tax. So we're having the system where we maintain and update it ourselves. So doing that, we operate in 11 states. So, you know, every quarter, every month and stuff like that, we're pulling the information from the actual state's website, however the heck they have it set up. And we have an integration scenario that they're talking about, an import scenario, where we're able to go in and say, okay, Acumatica, take this file, upload it. Okay, boom. All of Colorado now, their sales tax information has been updated. Okay, now let's do California, let's do Arizona. And we're able to do that kind of monthly, quarterly, whatever we need to. And it's maybe an hour's worth of process for 11 states.
Fantastic. Great question, though. Yeah, as Randy said, that was one of the key factors in what we're looking for to help our customers is that open API. Anybody else? You know, otherwise, as it kind of says on the screen, we are hoping that we can share this with your teams, that if you wanted to send the link to have other people watch, you know, from other customers' perspectives, what's going on with GP and going to Acumatica, that they could see it for themselves. We also have some members of our support team that are putting together little snippet videos so that you could see Acumatica and see some of the features that we've been talking about. But, you know, more importantly, if you're ready to start looking at the product, we'd want you to meet with Randy and Steve and talk about what you're going through now, what your needs are for the future, and then even to encourage you to think about going to the summit in Vegas at the end of January. That if you are interested in doing that, let us know. We can try to get you registered or you know, see if there's some special we could do for you, but also to invite you to our Collins customer dinner so that you can talk to other Collins customers that are using Acumatica. So we will follow up with you. Go ahead.
Just real quick as a final statement from me. This is not a one-time meeting that we're doing. Over the coming months, years, you'll continue to see information coming from Auber and the team on opportunities to learn more about Acumatica. So plan on seeing monthly activities coming in and opportunities for you to dive in. Some may be specific to an industry. So we might focus on distribution as an example 1 month, where as a distribution company, you'll come in and learn a lot more in depth of what's going on with distribution. With that, go ahead, Auber.
Yep. No, as he said, we have something coming up every single month that we want to share with you. And if there's anything that you'd like us to lean into, that you're not ready to really dive all the way in, but you'd like to see something, let me know and we'll make sure that we move that up and give you some information on that. So again, we appreciate each one of you for jumping on today. And then especially Mark and Wendy and Christina and Beverly, we just value your time so much. And we hope that you know, what you had to say is really resonating with the other customers on the line. So thanks.
Oh, great. Yeah, it was fun for me to hear some other customer perspectives. So definitely valuable.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.